off the whole time, didn't I? Hell yeah. Well, don't mind me just setting up here. Oh, it's because I closed Twitter. I'm an idiot. I was like, why did the podcast stop? Ooh, nice. Um, it's actually kind of hot.
Always mentioned this probably since they released it. Suno is everywhere on my timeline right now. Everybody gets like Suno songs to create for them. As I mentioned before in the beginning for April 1st, I actually like play pretended to be a Suno DJ and just played like AI generated music. And Suno is quite incredible. Everybody's getting excited. If you haven't tried Suno yet, and a birthday of a loved one is coming up, trust me, that generating a song with like Claude and then shoving it into Suno is going to be the best birthday kind of congratulation that you've ever did to your like friends and loved ones. Until everybody does this is going to make you like very popular among your family. So try this out for a birthday or something, for a custom congratulations. Create a Suno song. It's super cool. I think that's all in the voice and audio category. And I think it's time to talk about this week's buzz. This week's buzz is the area in thursdai where I talk about what I learned or some updates from Weights and Biases. So obviously I already gave you one update. Weights and Biases is the only platform that's supported from OpenAI's fine-tuning new capabilities starting
Okay.
today. That's super cool.
What?
But also we have some news of our own starting in like 40 minutes. So I'm very excited, and hopefully you guys will stay with us for that announcement. But also, as I've mentioned before, our upcoming conference, our yearly conference in San Francisco, is called Fully Connected. It features speakers from the head of Llama. I don't know if he's going to talk about Llama 3. We'll see. I will definitely ask him. But also folks from NVIDIA and folks from Llama Index. There's a bunch of like very awesome like foundational model trainers in San Francisco that are joining this conference as well. And if you're looking for a chance to go to San Francisco or a reason to go, or you live there, please join us in our conference. It's at fullyconnected.com. I'll add the link below. And I got us a promo code. So if you add thursdai, you'll get a 15% off. And I'll actually know who the people who listen to thursdai, who of them came to San Francisco for this conference. I would love to see you there. And we're having a workshop about LLMs and evals a day before. So if you're looking for 2 days in San Francisco, please join our workshop as well. And so, all right, so this is the Weights and Biases stuff. And I think it's time for a deep dive, folks. What do you think? I think it's time for a deep dive. Everything else we've covered. Oh, yeah, one last thing. DALI now has in painting. I forgot this one. So if you're using OpenAI and you go to DALI and generate an image, you click on that image, you can then now paint over the stuff that you don't like and ask DALI to change only that stuff. So in painting is pretty cool in DALI. You can like iterate on an image more and more. It's very decent, and they released it kind of like hushly. So I want to highlight this. I think with this, we are right on time to chat with our friends from Jamba and the friends who are fine tuning Jamba. So let me just like reset the space with some sound, and then we're gonna get into it.
I'm stoked for Jamba actually. The
All
one model
right,
I've tried to
so
train.
now it's time for the second part of thursdai, where we have deeper conversations and interactions with folks that actually made the news this week or previous week. And so I want to introduce to the stage Roy Cohen for AI 21. Hey Roy, welcome, nice to see you.
Hey Alex, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Thanks for coming up. And I will definitely like talk about how we got together and how you got invited to this. I also want to say hi to Maxime Lebon, friend of the pod, second or third time here on the pod. Welcome, Maxime.
Hello, thank you. Thanks for the invite.
Maxime, you're joining from London, is that correct?
Yeah, from London.
Awesome. And Roy, you're joining from?
Tel Aviv.
Paris.
So Maxime is you're previously from Paris. Sorry, I was asking Roy. Roy,
Sorry.
you're joining from Tel Aviv. That's right. Right, folks. So I think we're here to talk about Jamba. And Jamba is this thing that we've already covered on Thursday. But for folks who are listening only to this segment, Roy, do you mind giving us kind of a just an announcement of like what Jamba is, and start maybe from the fact that who you guys are in the AI 21 for folks who haven't heard about you before, and then let's talk about what you just released.
Yeah,
feel like
sure,
I
happy
applied to
to.
their thing.
AI21 was founded in 2017, so like around 6, 7 years ago, by kind of luminaries in the AI field. One of the founders is Yoav Shah, which is a emeritus professor at Stanford, and Ori Goshen, who is a veteran entrepreneur, joined quickly by Amnon Shashua, who was the chairman, and he's the founder and CEO of Mobileye, a company which I worked for many years before that. And we first kind of got scale with the application of WordTune. So we started on early as kind of like NLP, pure NLP play AI for the 21st century, kind of writing on AI innovations, and WordTune, which is an application for reading and writing, kind of like is our biggest application on the consumer side. And on the platform side, we work on large language models. We had Jurassic and then Jurassic 2. And now we continue our innovation with Jamba.
That's incredible. And so you did definitely continue a bunch of innovations. So I do want to ask like a very brief Jamba description, and then we're going to go into details, and also we're going to talk about obviously the fact that you guys released this one in open source. So I don't think that you previously released the Jurassic stuff in open weights, did you?
We did not.
No. So this is like your guys' first foray into kind of giving the community some weights as well. So that's very incredible. So maybe let's talk about the announcement. Jamba was released by you guys. It's a hybrid architecture, very like novel. We haven't seen, or like at least I haven't seen something at this scale of something like this before. So maybe for folks who have no idea what we just said, could you give us like a brief overview of Jamba and what's special about this release?
Yes, of course. Jamba is the first scale-up of the Mamba architecture, but it's interleaving of Mamba and Transformer. So it's an architecture that combines Mamba and Transformer both benefits, and it uses both blocks of Mamba and Transformer, more Mamba than Transformer. And it offers us, it's also a mixture of experts model, and it offers us the ability
really
to serve long context at really high quality,
I might throw it on my
at
P3.
really efficient scale. So cost efficient, high quality, kind of benefits from all worlds of the RNN world of Mamba in a linear scaled way, in a very efficient way that can scale up to a large language model. And also with Transform, which overcomes some of the drawbacks that we find when we research kind of the pure Mamba models, and the interleaving of both types of model blocks kind of gives us both the advantage of high performance and efficiency. So that's kind of like the bottom line of Jamba. And it's a new architecture. This is the reason why we released it to the world. We know it's a new thing. We want people to play with it. We want to kind of like enrich the community and to get feedback and have many people play with it and kind of like engage in the community and see how it goes.
So first of all, I don't know if you had a chance to listen to the previous thursdai conversation when we actually heard about Jamba, and we've talked about this. We really appreciate open source here on thursdai. Like most of the folks here on stage either release open source or fine tune open source to an extent. So we're really like behind this, and so we appreciate that you guys released it. And definitely one of the benefits is giving the community the tools to play with this, and then integrating those tools back. Are you guys already like serving Jamba through your APIs? Like what is the business use case for this as well? Is Jamba now available for your customers to kind of use as well, or is this just a preview so that you build those tools going forward?
So to clarify, Jamba that was released open weights to Hugging Face and in general is a base model. It wasn't fine-tuned. It's not an aligned model. And we are aligning our model, we'll have a fine-tuned model served on our APIs very soon, in the week or 2 weeks, very soon. And yeah, so this is how it be in a commercial way. From our side, this is how we'll serve it to our customers. We also, of course, talking to a lot of hyperscalers to serve it there. But yeah.
Okay. Heard this. Okay, so let's talk about like the highlights of the Jamba architecture. So we've covered state space models quite a while ago, so and a few times as well. We talked about Mamba, LDJ, like you mentioned Mamba multiple times. We had RWKV creator, Pico creator, like the one of the maintainers of RWKV. We talked about Hyena as well from Together AI. So there's all these attempts at trying to beat transformers at the same like level of scale, but also allow for like more context and like cheaper hardware to run like more context as well, right? You guys have tried like the regular Mamba. It didn't scale as well. Can you tell us like how you got to the hybrid kind of decision and how you started? Because probably spent quite a few dollars of compute on this, and this was like to some extent a
Quite
bet.
few dollars.
So who decided on that this bet will pay off, and like how did you arrive at this like hybrid architecture?
Dude,
And
cursor
you
sucks
said
so
more
fucking
Mamba
much.
than
Holy
Transformer.
shit.
So talk about the mixture as well, if you don't mind.
Sure. So when the Mamba paper came out, we were really excited to try it out. We all the time kind of trying new architectures and new experiments to improve the models and the model's architecture when we are preparing for a model training. So when Mamba came out, we tried it and we tried to scale it and we tried to see where it fails and where it shines. So if you remember in the Mamba paper, basically it beats vanilla transformers on all benchmarks that were published in that paper. We obviously expanded that to more benchmarks, to more evaluation, to our internal evaluations. One of the first things we saw in terms of performance is that it's not as good in context learning, so in few shots. And with some reasoning benchmarks that we saw. So when we, then one of the ideas was, and I think there was others inspiring that experiment, to try to interleave transformers and Mamba. I think also it mentioned in the paper that there were other modes. For example, striped hyena is a combination of hyena and transformer. So it was tried before, but nobody scaled that to that level. And when we tried to scale the model, we saw some issues with Mamba. So there are several issues here. One is that pure Mamba had some performance flaws, and we saw that that interleaving transformer there kind of solved this, and we get a better model, better than pure transformer and better than pure Mamba, kind of the best of all worlds. And we know that it's better in efficiency than transformers. So that was a big opportunity that we saw there. And there are more architecture decisions that we can go on. Let me know if you want to stop here and continue. But there were some things we saw that we don't need positional encoding. We saw some issues with the loss stability that we had to fix with RMS norm. And there was a lot of course, a lot of experiments run with weights and biases. And yeah, let me know where you want to go with this.
Yeah, so I just want to highlight that you guys first released the models in open weights, and obviously the community started picking this up. So we'll soon, we have Maxime here, we'll soon talk about like the fine tuning aspect of this and how much, because you like you said, you released the base model and it's not instruction fine tune, it's not chat fine tune. But also I do want to highlight that this week you guys also released the paper, right? So like the model was released first, and then you followed up with the paper that has a lot of details about kind of those, at least some of those decisions, and you know, ablation at least of what you just said, that you've tried to scale Mamba architecture. So I just want to like highlight for folks that the paper is up on archive. If there's anything specific from the paper that you want to like highlight as well for us while we're on this like decision making tree topic, feel free. And if not, like we can move forward in our conversation.
Yeah, so one small thing is that we also intend to release some of the smaller models ablations to the community to play with. That's another kind of like contribution that we want to make to the community. I want to highlight kind of like the edge of the model. Why we think people should play with it and build with it is that it's kind of like the best model for long context in its class size. So it has comparable or better benchmarks and internal evaluation that we did for this model size, and it should be very affordable and accessible to play with, as it runs on a single GPU with a very long context. It's we also released kind of like how to fine tune it, and we're really, really excited to see people fine tune and play with it. So really excited to see what we talk about today.
So let's put some context. Sorry for the pun, folks. For folks in the audience who are listening to this, you have Jamba at 256,000 tokens in the max context size, which is 250,000 tokens. We've seen like Gemini and stuff with 1 million tokens in the context size, but it's unclear how much compute Google actually spends for this. So we know it's like at least technically possible. However, definitely not something that people can just run on their like simple clusters. And you're saying that this is available. You can achieve up to 140,000 context tokens on one GPU, one like very big GPU, but still like on the one single machine that you can rent. This is kind of the benefit of the Mamba size, right? Because transformers, the more context you have, like the quadratic scaling thing, it hurts you significantly. You have to pay more attention, basically. So I just want to highlight this, that you guys, this is the kind of the equilibrium you're trying to achieve with both hybrid. You're trying to get like the highest quality output, which is transformers. You have this like very nice and simple kind of like table that shows comparisons, but also the high throughput. Could you speak about the throughput specifically? Like, what does that mean for folks who have no idea what this is, and like how are you getting like 3x over regular transformers or Mistral?
Yeah. So first of all, I think just to explain the graph, we look at kind of like the size of the generation is set is 512 tokens, and the graph goes at the more the context is bigger, and then we see how long does it take to generate the completion. So the whole time from encoding the input and outputting the output, the whole time, and then we divide this by the number of tokens. So it's basically efficiency on a token basis. And the more you go into the longer context, and kind of like the quadratic attention of transformer, and kind of bears a price of longer computation, less space on the GPU, and even might get you to out of a single GPU capacity. And this is where we shine in terms of throughput in general, and specifically also staying in less memory footprint. So it's both less compute and less memory. And another ablation that I want to highlight in terms of the paper is that we tried kind of, once we saw that the combination of transformers and Mamba is beneficial, we wanted to see how much out of, let's say, 8 blocks of a model, how many of them will be Mamba, how many of them will be transformer, and how is that impact the performance. And we saw that between 1 out of 4 layers being a transformer, or 1 out of 8 layers being a transformer, kind of like the transformer to Mamba ratio, there was no significant difference. So there was no significant difference in terms of performance, but in terms of efficiency, it's much better to have less transformers. So that way we reduce kind of like the ratio of transformers and the ratio that you spend on the quadratic computation and memory on the KB cache for transformer is lower. So this is how we get to very high throughput. We just spend much less on memory and compute for the attention layer.
Awesome. Thanks for the clarification. Because throughput is something that people maybe don't really like natively understand. That it's very important as well. Like some people just get this as a given, but very important to improve this kind of as well. And you're focusing on like 3x throughput. So you guys did this bet, like you trained a bunch. We're talking about a MOE, 52 billion total, but like a 7B MOEs, right? With 12 billion active parameters. You guys also like went for all the all the trending keywords in this world. You gave us an MOE. One thing that you always mention, and this also mentioned in the press release, is best in class model. And I kind of like this kind of class. Could you tell us like how you're thinking about like this class of models in which you guys are in, and how you're like defining best in class?
So we think about class mainly in terms of kind of like the compute level and the amount of effort that you need to put computationally and memory-wise to complete the generation. So we think that Mixtral is kind of like in the class size because it has more active parameters than us. It has 12.9. We have 12 billion. And so we see that kind of like the class size. That type of size is our model size. So I think that active parameters that are used in inference is the right measure for class size.
Yeah, and Mistral, I think you show benchmarks comparisons to Mixtral and Gemma 7B, and there's some benchmarks that even beat Mixtral, but on some like MMLU you get fairly close, but with novel architecture is very commendable. And BBH I actually haven't heard of before. But yeah, Truthful QA, you guys doing competitive benchmarks to the same class, which is very, very interesting. I want to highlight then and move towards like the kind of the conversation where when you release the model to the open source community, then you get to hop on stage here with like fine tuners. And so I want to introduce Maxim. Maxim, do you mind briefly like giving an intro to who you are and what you do? And then we'll talk about Jamba specifically, and we'll have a chance to maybe ask Roy some questions and talk about your fine tunes.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. I am a machine learning scientist, and I sometimes release models. So what I do most of the time is more like merges, but I'm also very interested in SSMs, which is why I was super interested in Mamba when it was released.
Nice. So when you saw Mamba, what's your first take, and what piqued your interest specifically? When you saw Jamba, Jamba. It's confusing.
Yeah, Jamba. I tried to, well, we saw different Mamba models that were fine-tuned and like a bit bigger, like about 3 billion parameters. And to be honest, they were not particularly good. So it was quite exciting to see like an upscaled version of it. I've also noticed that there are some issues with the current Mamba architecture related to the ability to copy the context and all kind of like a recall task. So hybrid architectures merging Mamba layers and transformer layers are probably a way of mitigating these issues. So that's what I wanted to see with Jamba. And yeah, my first tests were really positive. It looked like really, really strong models. So the next question was, can we supervise fine-tune it the way we do it with transformer models? Is it going to be good as a chat model, or maybe it won't follow instructions instead?
Awesome. And so you already released something, but you also, I think you tried twice, right? Could you talk us about your tries? Because I think you said the first one didn't really work for you.
Yeah, no, I had like a lot of different tries over the weekends and afterwards. But yeah, no, I had like a successful one in the end. It's not necessarily related to the architecture. It's also related to like the tooling in general. But yeah, I released Jamba Tipus, which is like a very modest and very humble fine-tune of Jamba because it uses the Open Platypus dataset. So it's about 20K samples, one epoch, so it's very small. But with this small dataset, you can see that Jamba is able to really follow instructions and answer questions. The throughput is also pretty good. So that was a very exciting result.
Awesome. I just want to highlight that Platypus authors is here in the audience with us. Ariel, shout out to Ariel. We had the chat with the Platypus team back when they released Platypus, and it's really like a great data set to quickly try things on top of. Roy, so let's maybe switch to you and kind of releasing the model. We briefly touched on this, but I want to hear kind of like how, from a company perspective, how you guys decide to open source or not to open source. So what's the benefit that you get from somebody like Maxim, like trying your models and actually giving you feedback? I did see that one of your folks very late at night at the same day that you released this already worked with Wing Lian on Axolotl, kind of the fine-tuning tooling that folks use, and already fixed the bug for Axolotl to be able to kind of like allow for fine-tuning. So how's this like process happening within the company? How do you decide on sending out open weights?
I guess I'm just gonna have to.
Yeah. So when we started working on this model, we knew that this is very new. This architecture is very new. and we wanted to engage with the open source community in large language models. We think it's amazing. We've been following it for the last years or more, and we thought that the community can benefit and we can benefit it from it back. So we are releasing a base model. We're also working, and we see very exciting results that we will publish soon on the aligned model. But it's very, very exciting to see models. I think to see people play and fine tune the model, because we learn from it as well. And I think this is a very new architecture that we believe in and we promote it. And I think that using kind of like engaging with the open source community is the best way to do so.
Absolutely, that's great, and definitely we've seen like companies take more of a open weights route, and the community definitely flourished, especially like focusing on meta stuff and Mistral. Maxime, back to merging, like the stuff that you're known for, at least the stuff that we've talked about before, is all about merging, and we've seen kind of a resurface of the merging craze recently with Sakana AI releasing their like environmental evolutionary algorithms for merging as well. They even tagged you in the release, which I thought was super cool. And back when we talked, you were the author of like Lazy Merge Kit and a bunch of stuff. Actually, Maxime, I don't know if you know this. I actually got to meet Charles at one of the events. It was super cool dude. The guy, the creator of Merge Kit itself. Have you tried merging this? Like, what is the? So I kind of understand how merging works in transformers. Let's talk about merging in the hybrid architecture.
Yeah, I think you would need to modify merge kit to be able to merge the member layers. So it wouldn't be like super straightforward right now. But maybe Charles is working on it. Who knows really? He's very fast. So no, that would be great. But I think that when you want to do merging, you need like a rich ecosystem of high quality fine-tuned models. So I think that that's what we're lacking at the moment. But it can be really nice. Maybe in a month when we have different version of these models to merge them and see what we get.
I will say for folks who are listening to this and have no idea what merging is, Maxime and us, we had like a deep conversation about merging. Maxime, you have a bunch of content as well that folks are more than welcome to follow you and kind of find this content, and also our conversation on thursdai about merging, because kind of the top models right now on Hugging Face are a bunch of merges of other fine tunes, and people are trying different alignment techniques and fine tuning techniques in different models, and then it doesn't require a lot of GPUs to just like try and merge them as well. But you're saying, I think it's a good call out. Like, we need a lot of fine tunes for Jamba to start merging them and see the benefits, right? This is basically where it ends. Roy, maybe from your perspective, you said in the beginning that kind of the way you got to a hybrid architecture is like you're keeping your ears to the ground in different like novel ways, etc. Have you guys seen any of the merging kind of community stuff? And what's basically your take on your, like, if you tried any of these techniques at all?
I am not aware of that. Again, just to highlight, I'm on the product side. I'm not an engineer or the leader of this. So there might be experiments that I'm not aware of, things that are really new. But I'm not sure what you're meaning by merging. I'm not familiar with that term. So.
Oh well, in that case, I have I have a chat with Maxime that you may want to listen to. But yeah, for a product manager or a PM on this, you sound very technical, which I appreciate. Let's talk about kind of future plans for Jamba and kind of other things. So we just saw today Cohere released the like Commendar like a week ago. Now there is like a bigger model. Do you guys? So you already mentioned briefly plans of yours to kind of fine tune for instruction and release this on your platform. And I know that like often future plans is like a problematic area to get into, but from the perspective of keeping people excited towards AI 21, what are some of the things we are able to look forward to now that you've proven that this hybrid architecture actually can scale and actually can like perform best in class? What are some of the things we should look forward to in addition to the stuff that Maxime does in fine tuning?
Right. So one of the things that I haven't mentioned yet regarding AI 21's kind of positioning and strategy in the market is that we are, in addition to serving large language model as a general models, we also have a big branch of models called task-specific models. So we have models that are fine-tuned specifically for summarization, for contextual answering, which are not only models, they are also systems with validations and connection to other layers that help it to be like kind of like a complete system of task-specific systems in a way. So Jamba will power also our next generation of that model. So the summarization, the contextual answering, and more task-specific models that we plan to do. In terms of kind of like bigger, more advanced models, we are trying and experimenting with many ways. We don't publish yet our specific goals or specific announcement that will come from that will follow from that ground. But you should expect exciting news from us in the future, in the near future.
Awesome. And kind of falling back on Maxime here, because like at least to me, once you release something open source, obviously the excitement about Mixtral or Mistral keeps happening because people fine tune this, and then it beats different like evals, and like we get better models. Like for example, we previously talked about the best open source, sorry, Apache 2 licensed open source model right now on the leaderboard for LMSys is Starling 7B, which is like a very small model from Mistral, and Mistral was released, I think, in September. So it's like a fine tune, and it's basically a gift that keeps on giving, like it keeps with excitement. And here, like step in folks like Nistan, like LDJ, like Maxime, with better data sets for improving instruction as well. So excitement will keep happening just because you guys released this model in the open source. Maxime, I wanted to like maybe turn to you and ask. Do you have any future plans with Jamba as well? Are you training like bigger ones? And if you have any questions for Roy, I think, or suggestions, because you try to fine tune this, and this is the space where like the community meets and talks about these things, which is a big part of why even to release this model. So feel free to kind of chime in here.
Yeah, no, I would love to do bigger fine tunes, but it's pretty big model, so I don't really have the budget right now. If a sponsor wants to help me fine tuning on Slim Orca or something like that, happy to connect. But other than that, no, thank you for releasing the model. It's really good. It really proves that it's a working architecture. The paper is also really nice with a lot of insights, so I would recommend everyone to read it. And I think that we're going to have a lot more member layers in our transformer architecture in the future.
Awesome.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Yeah. So Roy, definitely like the community appreciates. I just do want to highlight that for folks who are listening to this, if you have compute to give, Maxime, I get like impromptu DMs all the time for folks like, hey, you're looking for GPUs. I definitely like pass forward. If you, the listener, are listening to this and you're listening to Maxime, there's not a lot of more people than the folks like Maxime, like John Durbin, like Eric Hartford, like LDJ and Nissan, like all these folks who will take some compute that you will donate and do some cool stuff with it. So if you have GPUs to contribute, definitely this is a worthy cause to like expand what's possible with these open source as well. I think that's pretty much on my side. Roy, I want to leave you some time to talk about kind of how the community can like follow up and what they can help with as well. What are you looking for from the community? The stage is yours to like highlight the members of the team that worked on this that maybe you want to like shout out specifically. Definitely go for it. This is your time.
Wow, the list to shoutouts for the people who worked on it is very, very long, but I would just highlight the two main contributors to the paper that are really kind of like the masterminds of the model, which are Ofer Lieber and Barak Lenz, our CTO, and Ofer is an engineer, and there's a lot more people that I would, if I mention more, I would miss much more. They would be angry at me. What we would like the community to engage with us to fine tune. We are looking forward to see where this model shines. And we release the base model. We will release a fine-tuned model, the general purpose general model, instruct model. We also will fine-tune it to task-specific models, and we will serve it. But I'm looking forward to the creativity of the community and to hear from them. And please do reach out to us, to me, to whoever's on the team that you feel comfortable reaching out to. We will reply. We will also try to be engaged in kind of our Discord channel and on Hugging Face. And yeah, we're happy to become a prominent member of the open source community for large language models now.
We love that absolutely. And Roy, as you now have been for more than 20 minutes on stage on Thursday, you're now converted to a friend of the pod as well. More than welcome to hop in and kind of do announcements as well. And I think one of the best things that I saw from Thursday community is that I've got to learn so much from folks who come up here and kind of explain to us the stuff that they released, but also other folks connecting with other folks. We've seen this throughout, and I definitely welcome you guys also to this as well. One maybe last thing, LDJ, do you have any follow-up questions that you maybe want to ask with your like more expertise than me? Well, we still have Roy, and we have an announcement from Ars in like 5 more minutes. But before that, LDJ, if you have any final questions you want to finish on, and then we'll just move forward.
Yeah, I was just going to say if there's any inspiration taken from like striped hyena or what you think of that work, because you know they use hyena instead of mamba, and I think it was actually done a little bit before mamba maybe. But yeah, they found I don't think they published a paper on it, but they found in together blog post they talked about how they found something similar where with just like even just a small part of it being transformer based, it ends up getting a lot of those benefits of transformer, and it ends up better as transformer alone or you know SSM based alone. And so it seems like you guys kind of found a similar thing, right?
Yeah. We also mention it in the paper. I Ofer and Barak, which are the leaders of this, they have the memory of what inspired them and when inspired them. But I assume that they were aware of it. Our team is pretty aware of all the innovations in the field. We're keeping a close eye on it.
Sounds good. Yeah, I don't have any other questions.
Awesome. So with that, I think this concludes the interview. Roy, thank you so much for joining, and a shout out to the folks on your team who made it happen. I'm very happy. I will say that I don't usually plan as much, but like we had a chat with Roy yesterday to talk about like what we're gonna talk about. So I'm very happy that we were able to highlight you guys, and thank you for featuring Weights and Biases as much in the paper. It's really awesome to see how much you guys used it, and like looking forward for like more collaboration in the future. With that, thank you, Roy, and thank you, Maxime. Folks, stay with us because we're about to release some breaking news in just a few minutes. I already have some folks here in the audience on stage that I want to say hi to. Hey, Scott, welcome. And I also see Tim in the audience. Tim, I'm sending you an invite to speak. You should be able to accept it and then come up to the stage. Let's see. Meanwhile, as I said, as Roy said, you can follow up with AI21 on their Discord. You can download Maxime's fine-tuned models already, and if you want to contribute some compute, so we'll get like a little better models. Definitely, Maxime is the person to reach out to.
Yeah, go to Maxime first, but I'll tell you what he won't take.
Yeah, I think we're at the end of this interview, and I want to ask like Tim and Scott, do you guys think we're ready, or should we like talk about something else for 7 minutes?
We can fire away.
I think we're ready. And
oh wow, okay.
My first time using Spaces, so thanks for having me on.
Yeah,
Alex.
Tim, you're coming through loud and clear. Scott, you're coming through loud and clear. Thank you, folks, for joining. Let's do the little breaking news button, and I will just give maybe this preface to folks before I kind of switch to the breaking news. Everybody who joins thursdai team, I think this is your first time, Scott. I've seen you around, at least in the audience. I don't remember you joining on stage. You guys know how much we love breaking news, and how much specifically we love breaking the folks who kind of like breaking the news to the stage. So we just like talked with Roy and Maxime just released this model as well. So this is something that happened this week, and I'd love to like follow up while the iron is hot. So now I'm giving you breaking news before they actually announce. So we're gonna announce in like 6 minutes, I think it's scheduled. Since I joined Weights and Biases, we've been working on something incredible, and kind of one of the reasons why I joined was this kind of move. And so I'm very, very happy to be participant in the news that we cover here on Thursday as well. So let's start with the breaking news button, and then the stage will go to Tim to kind of do the announcement. AI breaking news from Weights and Biases coming at you only on Thursday. Let's go. I'll also add this. Where's my... All right, so I want to say hi to Tim Sweeney and Scott Condron from the team of Weights and Biases. Please, Tim, please unmute and introduce yourself briefly and what you do for the company, and then we'll get Scott, and then we'll talk about what we actually have to announce.
Great. Thank you, Alex, and love the sound effects. Hey, folks, my name is Tim Sweeney. I'm a principal engineer here at Weights and Biases and have spent the last year or so focused on building new tools for Gen AI builders, and really excited to announce some new software today and share that with you folks. Excited to be on this call and yeah, move forward in the industry building great things. I'm joined here by Scott, our lead product manager. Over to you, Scott.
Hey folks, yeah, excited to talk about what we're launching today. Nice to meet y'all.
Awesome. So when I joined, I definitely like Scott, and I connected like super quick. And Scott was like, "You're you're the target like persona audience of the stuff that we're working on." So all right, let's get to the announcements. Let's not beat around the bush. We have some incredible stuff to announce today. Tim, over to you. Feel free to give us the announcement, and I'm very excited about it.
Yeah, awesome.
Hi.
So as you alluded to, Alex, in I think in a couple minutes here, 5 minutes, we'll be sharing a blog post more broadly. But just you heard it here first. We are announcing a new toolkit called Weave from Weights and Biases, which is a suite of tools for developing and productionizing generative AI applications. Just like the core Weights and Biases product, if y'all have used it, we really focus on lightweight integrations to give you value immediately, and then ramp up to support more complex and robust workflows. So with just a few lines of code, you'll be able to instrument your Gen AI applications, whether those are LLMs or otherwise, log, version, and track all of the data that's passing through your system, track code and objects, data sets, and models, and then ramp up to experimenting with different prompt techniques, model changes, parameters, and all the way to evaluation, deployment, and serving. So we're really excited to share this with you. More details in written form are probably nice, but yeah, that's what we're coming out with. We're really excited to share it.
So we're announcing Weave. And as you folks know, and we just talked with folks from like AI21, machine learning folks, Weights and Biases, the models product that we have is ubiquitous. Like pretty much when we went to NeurIPS, everybody, and Tim, I think we were there as well, everybody came up to us and just like, hey, we use Weights and Biases, we love you guys. And the only thing I could ask back was like, okay, give us feedback. Like what else? It's pretty much ubiquitous everywhere. And we saw this from like the papers and the folks participating in NeurIPS. And then people kept asking us like, what about, okay, so the model is ready, and then what? Like, can you guys support this? And so now we're releasing some stuff that can actually support this type of folks, like prompting and everything. Scott, you want to maybe talk about some of the pain points that we saw and the Weave that solves for folks?
Yeah, cool. So I guess like the origin of Weights and Biases has always been like building tools for experimentation and building tools for like building machine learning models. So like you have access to a GPU, you're training models for like a lot of time. You're spending a lot of money on those GPUs. So you want to like get really make sure you're getting bang for your buck of the compute you're using, and you want to stop using spreadsheets to track your machine learning runs. So like that's been Weights and Biases bread and butter, and as you said, like all of the sort of best models that are all being used today are a lot of them are trained on Weights and Biases, or the teams that are training them are using Weights and Biases to sort of track their training runs. But with the release of sort of some of these more like powerful LLM APIs and like LLMs in general, people are able to spend more time at that application layer and really like leverage LLMs to build apps. And it's a type of application building that we think is new, and we're excited to like build new tools to help with that these workflows. For example, like you can just add the OpenAI API to or whatever LLM of choice to your application, and all of a sudden now it's like an AI powered application. And we're seeing teams like be able to build like pretty decent proof of concepts, but then like when it comes to applying them, and it's like coming to applying them in production or across like a wide array of use cases, it's really tough to develop with these things. So yeah, this new toolkit is what is built around that application of trying to apply AI or generative AI to applications and really build around them. And it's built sort of in the same mindset as Tim said. It's like we really want it to be lightweight. We really want it to be easy to get started, and we want people to, in future conferences, maybe software developers who are building with Gen AI, I want to be at those conferences and people are coming up and saying, well, I love how easy it is to use and how composable it is or whatever. Like we see from model trainers today with weights and biases. So you can actually check out our docs if you are one of these people that are like trying to apply AI to build applications, like maybe a RAG app or whatever. You can go to 1db.me/weave and you can check out our docs. It should be pretty easy to get started. Yeah, excited to. This is just a start, so we're excited to hear feedback and iterate. But it's something that we're really excited about, and we're really excited to be able to talk publicly about it now.
So I just thank you, Scott and Tim. I just added a tweet from Sean, our co-founder, and about Weave specifically, and I'm very excited about Weave specifically because it's really clear now how difficult it is to productize, Scott, like you said, to productize these models, and then how productize these products based on generative AI and especially LLMs. And then also the big thing that we keep talking about this here is that evaluation is really hard as well. It's really hard to know on production whether or not your APIs are working. If you're switching from like GPT-4, for example, for Claude, suddenly you have to have new intuition about prompting. And then how do you know if it ends up on production and ends up working for your users as well? And all of these problems, like many folks who are building cool MVPs and cool like demos, then the folks who are like in charge of putting those models in production, or sorry, those products in production based on those models, they struggle with that feedback, they struggle with understanding, they struggle with evaluations. And we've seen definitely multiple evaluation techniques now pop up, stuff like just a programmatic evaluation, whether or not the model even like returned JSON to you or not. That's a big one, and these models are better at tool use, etc. But then we also see like human evaluations where like your customers will thumbs up or down on responses, and everybody's like building data sets. But then also, like we talked often about fine-tuning, whether or not fine-tuning actually works. And we just talked about today, the OpenAI released their fine-tuning service, again with integration with weights and biases, but then how do you actually know when you deploy a fine-tuned model in your application, in your chatbot, in your rack system? How do you actually know that it works? And this is, to me, kind of the exciting part of the type of stuff that we're trying to solve for. I want to highlight maybe one specific technical feature before we drop, because we're like at time. I just really wanted to highlight this. I wanted to talk about the versioning part of this. Maybe Tim, if you want to chat about this, and then me, Scott. I really enjoyed. Look, I got an early access to Weave, and I've been using this for a while. And I'll be talking more about Weave in the coming months, weeks. But I want to talk about the versioning, because to me, like, the versioning was a very big piece of this. I wrap my code, and then sometimes some smart things are happening behind the scenes. Tim, could you talk about this?
Yeah, definitely. Thanks, Alex. So, most people are familiar with version control from source perspective. Using Git or otherwise to version your code. But what we notice is with these workflows, you're often changing implementations of functions in a very iterative and ad hoc way, where
can build for you, basically. With that, folks, Tim and Scott, I just want to appreciate for a brief second how much I saw you guys work on this, you and the rest of the team. So really, like a shout out from everybody here on
Hackathons, you
Thursday.
say.
I've been waiting for this. I'm very, very happy that we finally are able to talk about this in the open and step into the LLM tracking and evaluation game and basically kill it as much as we killed the other game with machine learning. So this is to you. Thank you, folks. Thank you. I'm very happy that we did the announcement here on Thursday. I'm very, this wasn't like super planned. Yeah, folks, like yesterday or like a couple of days ago, we said, okay, 11 a.m. Pacific on Thursday, which I'm very happy. As always, breaking news on Thursday is always awesome. So with that, I think we'll conclude here. We'll definitely talk more about Weave. If you give this a shot, give us a shout out and we'll talk to you and we'll listen to your feedback as well. And I think the rest of the folks know that we're here for exactly 2 hours. What I do at the end of this space is I recap everything we've talked about. So I'll do that now, and then I'll let you go to the rest of your Thursday. So you'll have some time to talk about Weave. Let's go. Yeah.
Okay. So we're in business, right? What we actually need to figure out is how the fucking LSP works.
What's going on, everyone? This is Thursday from April 4th. I'm Alex Volkov, AI evangelist with Weights and Biases, and oh boy, we have some exciting stuff that we've talked today. And here's everything that we've covered on Thursday, April 4th. So I'm gonna start actually with the last thing that we just covered. But if you're tuning in right now to the podcast, for example, you will hear a conversation of us announcing a new tool for generative AI and LLM application called Weave from Weights and Biases. And we're really, really excited to announce this on Thursday, but also broadly. So Weave is a tool of us that gears the software engineers, the AI engineers, the folks who build with LLMs. And we're really excited to be able to offer a toolkit for tracking and evaluation of those applications. A conversation with Tim and Scott from the team. You can hear this podcast, and it's I'm super excited. Additionally, from Weights and Biases, we're coming to San Francisco in 2 weeks, where we're going to actually talk about Weave as well. And so we have a workshop on the April 17th, and we have our annual conference called Fully Connected on April 18th. And actually, I got a promo code for you guys. So if you are in San Francisco during those times, or you're looking for an excuse to your boss to go to San Francisco, there's not a better conference that week in San Francisco than Fully Connected. And if you sign up right now with the promo code thursdai, not only will you get 50% off of your ticket, I will also know that you signed up because you're a Thursday fan, and come and give me a high five and meet the rest of the team and hear us announce We've on the broad stage. We're gonna have folks like folks from NVIDIA. We're gonna have folks from Meta. The chief llama, I think, from Meta is coming. There's gonna be a lot of like foundational models folks in the audience as well, because again, like I said, everybody works with Weights and Biases. So this is from us, but also we covered so much on Thursday besides this that I really, really am excited to just like run through everything. So I'm gonna try to do this like super quick. We started with talking in the open source that Princeton released something called SVE agent. If you guys remember, we talked about Devin before. So this is the open source version of something like a Devin agent. They get an incredible 12.3 score on SVE bench, the benchmark that's like really hard to do. And Devin was very, very famous for getting 13% there. Just for comparison, regular GPT-4 plus RAG gets 1.4% on that score, right? So just so you understand how difficult this is. And Claude 3 Opus with RAG gets like 3%. So this new agent from Princeton, Ophir Press, and some other very incredible folks gets very close to Devin, like almost 13%, 12.2%. They do this by giving their agent their own like Docker container and something called agent computer interface, which allows it to browse and search and edit and run code. Very, very interesting. So we had a conversation about SV agent. Then we talked about the fact that Jamba from AI21, the paper was released with a bunch of very interesting ablation studies and a bunch of interesting architectural choices, let's say, that they did. And we also had Roy Cohen from AI21, and I'm going to cover this later. And he was here talking about the paper as well, which was super cool. We then covered that Justine Tooney, backed up by Mozilla, released a new update for Llama-File. Llama-File is a way to take an LLM and pack it in a binary, and this binary is able to get like an executable. You don't have to install Llama CPP. You don't have to install any packages. You can just like take this file and run an AI whatever. And Justine released something incredible, like a 5x improvement she wrote, I think, like 84 new matrix multiplication kernels for the improvements of this. It's
God
really
damn,
incredible to
Justine.
see that even though
What a fucking
llama.cpp was
beast.
already squeezing performance out of CPUs, in comes Justine Tooney, who's like incredible engineer and just like makes it 5x faster on some CPUs. Specifically, llama file also the examples that Justine showed are on something like a Raspberry Pi, for example, $100 device that you can run a tiny llama with 62 tokens per second. So imagine how many things you can do on your own, like very, very small hardware with this llama file. The cool thing about open source is that all those changes and new kernels were merged upstream into llama CPP. So expect further improvements from llama CPP as well. And we talked about this. We also had breaking news today from Cohere. If you guys remember last week, we talked about Cohere's new model called Command R. And a couple of weeks ago, maybe 2.5 weeks. And now Cohere came out with an upgraded model. Cohere called it Command R Plus. It's a significantly bigger RAG optimized 104 billion parameter model that specifically is fine tuned for RAG purposes. Not only that, they're now competing against something like a Sonnet from Anthropic, for example. It has also extended context. It has 128,000 tokens of context in it, and it's multilingual. It supports 10 languages, like fairly quick. It looks like an incredible model. We had a chat with Nistan and Yam about this, and I think what they're focusing on is a powerful tool use specifically. So they're evaluating on different things like tool talk and Berkeley function calling datasets and evals, and specifically they're claiming they're beating GPT-4 on some of those specific RAG and tool use things. And I think one of the things that to highlight is they're supporting multiple tool use as well. So the model is able to understand and prompt multiple function calling across kind of the calls from the user. So definitely Command R was very strong on the benchmarks, and it like ranks very high on the LMSys. So very excited to see how much this bigger model will perform as well. We had a very interesting discussion about the new paper from DeepMind called Mixture of Depth paper, and I want to thank LDJ and Justin for the kind of the deep dive into this paper. So basically, a new paper from, I don't think they released anything else. It's just a paper. But if you remember MOE, this is MOD, Mixture of Depth. Basically, they talk about that not all tokens are the same when you inference a model. Some tokens are harder to predict than others computationally, and this is basically wasted compute. So a new letter after the period, for example, is harder to computationally like predict than a with sequence tokens, right? And so they analyze this with DeepMind, and they released a paper that talks about, hey, there's a way to train these models and then run inference that the computer is not going to be uniform across these models, and so we're actually going to gain some significant performance improvements in inference. So we had a nice conversation about this. So this is from DeepMind. This is it from open source. No, we actually mentioned two other open source stuff from our friends. John Durbin, he re-released the Bagel series, and I think Ouroboros as well, on top of Ye34B with 200,000 context window. So shout out to John Durbin. And then also Eric Hartford released a new Dolphin as well on top of the new Mistral that we've mentioned before, the 0.2 base Mistral. And these are like the top of the folks that we know in the open source community. The datasets are great. So if you're looking of trying like kind of new things, shout out to John Durbin and Eric Hartford. And also, we should definitely mention that Maxime Lebon, also a friend of the pod, who's here with us and had a deep dive conversation, also released a fine tune of Jamba on top of the Platypus dataset as well. So this is it in the open source. Then we talked about big companies, LLMs, and their APIs, and I think the highlight there was Cloudflare. Cloudflare, me and Nistan talked about how they're slept on by many people. They still are thought of as like DNS, but in fact they have like this vast workers platform where you can build and deploy applications. And they recently stepped into the AI game with workers.ai. And so now they announced the workers.ai is like in general availability now. They announced pricing. They also announced the workers now run Python, and they have integrated with LangChain and Llama Index. And hopefully now that we've announced Weave, they're going to have Weave there as well. I'm going to talk to some folks in Cloudflare about this. But I just want to highlight that they've added a bunch of models in the Cloudflare AI offering. So Cloudflare will run those GPUs for you, and you will not have to have like a Linux machine. It will all be serverless. And they now have models like Mistral 7B Instruct and DeepSeek and Llama and Qwen 1.5B. Like they have a bunch of models there in Cloudflare, which is kind of incredible. Now you can run them in this worker AI platform. They also announced an integration with Hugging Face. So for these models, you can one-click Hugging Face and install these like models on your Cloudflare account. And they also, very interesting thing they announced is a fine-tune support via bring your own LoRa's. So you can fine-tune models and train them with LoRa and then take the artifact of that and kind of put it in your Cloudflare account. So you basically are able to productize fine-tuned models on top of Cloudflare. Super cool announcement from Cloudflare. As I mentioned before, we ship Cloudflare, but we don't get paid for them. But they're a super cool company. Don't sleep on Cloudflare and give them a try. We then talked about OpenAI's a few announcements. OpenAI opened up GPT 3.5 to everybody who visits the website without login requirements, without having to provide the phone number. Very interesting move from OpenAI there. Also, we mentioned briefly that OpenAI released a voice engine blog. So they released a new blog that said, hey, we actually built something called Voice Engine, but we're not going to give it to you. We'll only give it to a few select partners because it's really like a election season around the world for this year, and so we don't want to overcomplicate how important voice deepfake, how natural a deepfaked voice can sound. So OpenAI has announced Voice Engine but did not release this. And the last thing that OpenAI actually in the breaking news matter announced is an improvement on their fine-tuning service, including some examples from companies like Harvey that significantly improved their models. So not only improvement in fine-tuning service, they now integrate well with weights and biases. We're actually the only platform to get integrated with OpenAI when you fine-tune something. So you can now fine-tune with OpenAI and get a nice weights and biases dashboard. It's super cool. And they announced a bunch of new tooling for fine-tune, so you can actually compare the outputs of two models. So if you are fine-tuning, but you don't want to do this alone on your GPUs, you're now able to do it for 3.5. A very cool blog post from OpenAI, and shout out to them for integrating with us as well. We then covered that Replit had their dev day yesterday, and Replit has big moves on AI, definitely, because more than 10 million. I actually don't know the number, but like Nistan, I think, said 100 million or something folks use Replit. They had their dev day yesterday, and they announced a new model called Replit Code Repair. So if you're familiar with something like a Copilot, for example, that's code completion. So it basically takes and continues your code. Code repair is a little bit different. It actually needs to look at your code and context and try to repair it. So something like a cursor editor that we know that uses code repair, for example, and Replit used all of the amazing examples of folks on their platform, and they analyze what are the top problems that the folks are running into, and basically fine-tune a tiny model called DeepSeek Coder 7B on a bunch of information from Replit, and now they're showing incredible performance against even GPT-4. And this is a 7B model. It's kind of incredible to see Replit go in depth about how they fine-tune and train this, and also now they're able to run this in production significantly faster. So check out deeply Replit Code Repair, and if you're using Replit, you're going to have a better time from now on. We then covered a little bit news of Google. Logan Kilpatrick, the dev rel for OpenAI that recently left, announced he joins Google's AI, from Gemini, which is great. And good luck, Logan. Logan is a great dude. I'm very happy that he's kind of in our orbit as well. And now he's going to represent Google. And also Google announced Gemini prices finally. So before we had access to Gemini, but we didn't know if, in the production context, how much it's going to cost. And so Gemini has a pay-as-you-go pricing tier that's like $7 per 1 million tokens. That's not Gemini 1.5, so it's not the long context one. This is just the regular Gemini. Competitive with Claude Opus and GPT-4, it looks like. And one last thing in the big companies and LLMs and APIs that we covered, Grok with the Q, the company with the LPUs, the super fast inference chips, lends function calling. As I just talked about, Cohere's Command R function calling is a big thing that many people are looking for. Developers building RAG applications top, they actually need function calling for a bunch of this. So if you are using Grok for the fast inference, they now support function calling / tool use as well. I think we're moving forward, and to voice and audio category, we've covered in OpenAI's voice engine. I just mentioned this before. Will not be released to developers, but we definitely talked at least a little bit that you and your loved ones have to have the conversation that if they get a call from somebody that sounds like you, panic from an unknown number, that your elders should be worried and that your voice can be faked. And if you have a voice authentication enabled in some bank somewhere, don't stop it. Your voice can be cloned very, very easily and cheaply, even with the existing open source. But if you listen to the OpenAI voice engine, you'll hear how incredible that can actually get, how realistic that can actually get. It's kind of crazy. We also previously talked with Hume, if you guys remember the previous thursdai. So we're looking forward for Hume to get released. So definitely your voice can be cloned. Don't trust anything that people say that sounds weird, and teach your mom and grandma that they shouldn't trust them either. Also in the audio category, we talked about Stable Audio version 2, which you can actually check out for free on stableaudio.com. It's not open source, so the era of Stability releasing open source stuff is potentially over, but it's still super cool. We actually played a little sample. You can use audio to audio, so you can like record yourself hum or like beat on your table, do beatbox, and ask for drums or bass or bass line or whatever. It comes with a user guide as well. So unlike Suno, for example, where if you don't know what you're doing, you kind of get something nice. Okay, Stable Audio released a user guide of how to actually use their platform. It's available on the platform as well. And they also have a radio station there that you can just like tune in, and they will keep playing AI music for you for a while. And it's really cool. And also, I will just say that like it looks like the ChatGPT moment for AI audio is here. My whole timeline is full of Suno AI songs for this and that, and really super cool. So Stable Audio version 2 is joining this, and I hear rumors that another company that supposedly is better than Suno, or at least like higher quality than Suno, is also going to drop something, hopefully on thursdai. We'll see. And also we covered that MLX, if you guys remember, MLX is the inference platform that Apple released for Mac devices. You can now run Whisper on MLX, and it's 10 times as fast as Whisper.cpp. So for those of you who are building like voice application, and if you use Lightning Whisper MLX, you'll get like super fast audio, automatic speech recognition with Whisper. I think that's pretty much it of what we covered in voice and audio. The last thing that we've barely mentioned, OpenAI also released DALL-E in painting. So right now, if you go to ChatGPT, if you pay for it, you can generate an image. You can click on this image, you can paint out some areas of this image, and ask DALL-E to like repaint them, which is super cool because you can iterate on an output, continue, and then get the results that you want. I think most other platforms support this, and now DALL-E supports this as well. This is all the news that we had. One thing that I wanted to highlight is we also had a deep dive conversation with AI21. So if you guys remember last week, AI21 released something called Jamba, which is a hybrid architecture that uses Mamba, the state space model, and then also joint attention, and they basically getting the benefit of both worlds, both from transformers and the state space models for larger context and higher throughput. So we I was very lucky to have Roy from AI21 join us and talk to us about Jamba and kind of the decisions behind this architecture in the paper. And also one of the reasons why they open sourced Jamba was to support the community fine-tune as well. So I was very happy to also join this conversation with Maxime Lebon, who we've talked previously about merging, but he's also very interested in SSMs. So he actually released a new fine-tune of Jamba on the Platypus dataset today. So Maxime also joined this conversation. It was a great conversation. If you want to understand more what like state space models is, what are the benefits of like a Mamba architecture on top of a regular transformer, or what are the potential future applications, definitely check this out. And we ended the conversation with something that I started with Weights and Biases releasing Weave, and I will end on this as well. So this is everything that we've talked about on April 4th and thursdai. With that, with 2 hours and 20 minutes in, I will want to thank everybody who joined from week to week. It's incredible. Even though Twitter rugged us a little bit in the beginning, I'm very happy to bring you the show this Thursday, especially because we have breaking news of our own. And as you guys know, I love hitting this breaking news button. So with that, thank you everybody who joined on stage. Thank you, LDJ and Jun Yang as always. Jan was here before, Nistan, Maxime and Roy for joining. And then my teammates, Tim and Scott who joined us as well. I see Morgan in the crowd and like the rest of the Weights and Biases team who joined us as well. With that, I'll let you be, and happy Thursday, everyone. And we'll see what else next week will bring. Cheers, everyone. Woo!
Just double checking cursor for kind of a last hurrah here. Well, I was supposed to write something other than Lua on this stream, but turns out I'm only going to be writing Lua, and not even writing Lua, just fucking configuring my file system again. Just double check and see if I can get this to work. No, this conversation's dead. I fucking hate Cursor so much. I mean, as you can clearly see, I unironically got mad enough to switch to fucking Vim because Cursor was so fucking broken. But I'm okay with this. Yeah, sorry, I got distracted. Fucking, going over to the, dropping off some links to some people who should know about them, some of the stuff on thursdai. Okay, cool. Let's do, what are we gonna do? Are we gonna do a little bit more here? I think so. I just want to get it, make sure it's all like up and running, okay. And then maybe I should stream like figuring out the LSP. That would probably be good for me to have a record of anyway. So I'll probably do that. I think I'm gonna shut it off and like go grab lunch and stuff for now. But I'll probably, yeah, I think I'll get back on later and then stream Although I'm curious, let me look at my views here. 14. Maybe the leftover thursdai restream is like the strat. That would be pretty funny. Just double check and make sure. Okay, yeah, my Vim is back up. Okay. Just do Vim here. And then I think I need Mason. Oh, did it lose all my LSPs? Oh no. Well, maybe that's good, I guess. Because then I can, it certainly looks like it did. I want Jedi. EFGHI. Okay, so Jedi is right there. And then I think it's I. Is that? Could have swore it was. Oh no. Okay. A Java. Okay, I hope I never have to fucking use that. No point in, is there a, is it G that? Yeah, it is. Okay. Uninstall packages X. Okay. Mason. And then G toggle. Head down here and we're gonna go Shift X. Okay. Alright, so LSP is Jedi. DAP. What is a DAP? I want to Google this. No, not what is a DAB. Programming? I might have to ask Perplexity here. DAP computer programming. Wait, yeah, okay. What is a DAP neovim? That'll get me to the right spot. Debug adapter protocol. Okay. So code LLDB. Let's code LLDB neovim. Okay, so that's Rust, sure. CPP tool is using the Mason package manager. Okay, let's do Jedi neovim. Okay, so let's give that a little fun little star there. Okay, so can I do Jedi Vim on like my, so what, that would be linter or formatter maybe? Jinja, no. Linter, MyPy. MyPy is the one that gives me types. I might want that. Gleam. H, I, J, JQ. Okay. So, installation is compiled with, okay, yep, that's fine. Okay. In my Jedi Vim repository, Vim bundle, okay. So where does lazy install my official, might be quite old. Okay, so I'm gonna have to go to my configs, and I'm assuming a complete guide to neovim configuration for Python. I bet this is not going to use my distro, because I'm a Vim baby and I had to use a whole ass distro to fucking just kick me off. Although, as you might have seen earlier, I spent some time installing Kickstart and Quick, which are less full-featured than Lazy Vim, which hopefully means there will be less things that are just come pre-installed that I don't know how to use, because I am a tiny baby who needs all the tools. Okay, install needs a plugin manager. Yeah, Vim plug. Okay. So I just need to look at config, I think, and then I'll probably ask Claude. Let's do Q. Okay. Let's see. What do I need to install to use Jedi with neovim? What I'm trying to figure out is if I just need, oh yeah, COC Python I think is the, let me just take a look at this. This is what I've kind of heard about. COC Jedi, coc.nvim wrapper for Pythons. And I will read your blog post. So, but I have lazy. I'm defaulted to lazy. Install Node.js for Vim plug users. Have to install COC extensions or configure language servers for LSP support. Can configure silent. C space to trigger completion control space. Okay. So COC might be good for completions, and then if I COC Jedi, then I think I'm okay from there. Okay. 'Cause, 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 LSP client that targets them. Yeah, Java, blah, 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 blah. Okay, language server. Language client. Okay. JSON RPC request to a language server. Yep. Okay, I don't need the whole fucking history of everything, dude. Sorry. Encrypt C, Lua, okay. Without an extension, COC behaves like a simple language client. Within my current Python environment. Can I use COC and Mason at the same time? Okay, so this is Treesitter and Mason. Which makes it support more integration. That's interesting. Okay, I'm gonna fall down a rabbit hole again, and I gotta go do some stuff. But if you were here, thank you for stopping by. And if you weren't here, then I guess you weren't here. So not thank you for stopping by. Let's see, multiple outputs. Go here, and we'll call it there. But after I go take care of my stuff, I'll probably get back on and see if I can configure this LSP.